Dark screen. Faint echo of prison doors clanging shut. A heartbeat sound fades in. Then a hushed voice. On the morning of August 10th, 2019, guards at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York City walked down a corridor lined with cells. Behind one of those heavy metal doors lay Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier whose name had become synonymous with wealth, corruption, and unimaginable crimes. But when they opened that door, what they found sent shockwaves across the globe. Epstein was dead. The official story, suicide by hanging. But almost instantly, cracks appeared in the narrative. Cameras that should have been recording mysteriously malfunctioned. Guards tasked with checking on him fell asleep. And Epstein himself, a man with ties to billionaires, presidents, royals, and celebrities, was gone forever, taking countless secrets with him. Pause. Beat of silence. Tonight, we rewind this chilling story. A story of power, privilege, and predators. How did a math teacher from Brooklyn rise to mingle with the world's elite? How did he build a vast empire of manipulation and abuse? And most haunting of all, did Jeffrey Epstein truly end his life? Or was he silenced before he could expose those who enabled him? Jeffrey Edward Epstein was born in 1953 in Brooklyn, New York. His childhood was unremarkable. He wasn't wealthy. He wasn't connected. He was just another boy from Coney Island, the son of a Parks Department worker. But Epstein had two things: ambition and charm. In the 1970s, he became a teacher at an elite Manhattan prep school. He didn't even have a college degree, but Epstein had a knack for persuasion, convincing administrators he was qualified. His classroom was less about math and more about connections. It was here that he first met wealthy families and began climbing the ladder. From teaching, he jumped into finance. With no formal training, he talked his way into Wall Street firm Bear Stearns, where his charisma and boldness caught attention. Soon, Epstein left to start his own financial management business, catering exclusively to billionaires. But here's the twist. Almost no one understood exactly how Epstein made his money. His business was shrouded in secrecy. Clients were few, but wealthy. Rumors spread that his real currency wasn't finance, it was information. And in circles of the rich and powerful, information is worth more than gold. By the 1990s, Jeffrey Epstein was no longer a nobody from Brooklyn. He was rubbing shoulders with the world's most influential figures. Former presidents, British royalty, Wall Street titans, celebrities. He threw lavish parties, hosted private dinners, and cultivated relationships that seemed untouchable. His closest companion was Ghislaine Maxwell, daughter of media mogul Robert Maxwell, who introduced Epstein to high society in London and New York. Soon, Epstein was flying in his private jet, nicknamed the Lolita Express, to exotic destinations with men whose names carried power across continents. But behind the glitz and glamour, something far darker was unfolding. Because Jeffrey Epstein wasn't just collecting friends. He was collecting leverage. He kept a black book filled with thousands of names, politicians, business leaders, actors, and royals. To outsiders, it looked like a contact list. To others, it looked like insurance. Insurance that could keep him safe. Behind closed doors, Epstein built a world designed to conceal his darkest secrets. He owned a sprawling mansion on Manhattan's Upper East Side, one of the largest private residences in the city. He had luxury estates in New Mexico, Paris, and Palm Beach. And most infamously, he owned Little St. James, a private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands that locals would later call Pedophile Island. Survivors described these places as gilded cages. The illusion of wealth and opportunity was used to trap young women and girls, many underage. Recruiters, often women themselves, would approach vulnerable teens with promises of modeling jobs, internships, or quick cash. What awaited them inside Epstein's homes was something they could never have imagined. Once inside, the pattern was chillingly consistent. Gifts, charm, coercion, and then abuse. Epstein used his money not just to buy silence, but to create an entire network of exploitation. For years, whispers circled, but Epstein was untouchable. Because the more powerful his friends were, the safer he seemed to become. In Palm Beach, Florida, one teenage girl finally spoke out. Then another, and another. Their stories echoed one another, graphic accounts of how Epstein manipulated, assaulted, and controlled them. Police opened an investigation. The evidence was damning. Yet, in 2008, Jeffrey Epstein struck a deal that defied belief. He pleaded guilty to just 2 counts of soliciting prostitution from a minor. His sentence? 13 months in a county jail. Not a maximum security prison. Not federal time. And even during those 13 months, Epstein was granted work release, spending up to 12 hours a day outside the jail, 6 days a week. It wasn't just a slap on the wrist. It was a cover-up. The deal, negotiated by U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta, was so lenient that many called it a sweetheart deal. Years later, Acosta would claim he was told Epstein was connected to intelligence, and that prosecuting him too heavily could cause problems above his pay grade. But the survivors, the women and girls whose lives have been shattered, were left silenced once again. For the next decade, Epstein continued to live lavishly. He traveled freely, hosted parties, and expanded his network. Many wondered, how could a convicted sex offender still move so openly in elite circles? The answer was chilling. His connection shielded him. But the survivors never stopped fighting. Through civil lawsuits and relentless advocacy, they forced the world to take notice. By 2018, investigative journalists reignited the story. And in 2019, federal prosecutors finally moved in. Epstein was arrested on charges of sex trafficking minors. This time, the evidence was overwhelming. Photographs, testimony, and a treasure trove of documents seized from his mansion. For the first time, Jeffrey Epstein seemed cornered. But then he was dead. Just weeks after his arrest, Epstein was found unresponsive in his jail cell. The official cause, suicide by hanging. But the circumstances raised far more questions than answers. Security cameras that should have recorded the cell block weren't working. Guards tasked with checking on him every 30 minutes reportedly fell asleep. Epstein himself had been on suicide watch, yet mysteriously, he had been taken off it just days before. Almost instantly, theories spread like wildfire. Did Epstein take his own life to escape justice? Or was he silenced before he could name names? Names of powerful men whose reputations could crumble if the truth came out? To this day, the question remains unanswered. After Epstein's death, survivors turned their attention to Ghislaine Maxwell, his longtime partner and enabler. In 2021, she was convicted of trafficking and conspiracy. But for many, it wasn't enough. Because Maxwell wasn't the only one. Epstein's network involved recruiters, assistants, and possibly powerful men who flew on his planes, visited his island, and attended his parties. Yet to this day, few of those names have faced consequences. The survivors still ask, why? How many people in power look the other way? How many actively participated? And how many remain untouchable, shielded by the same wealth and influence that once protected Epstein? Jeffrey Epstein's story isn't just about one man. It's about the world he thrived in, a world where money can erase crimes, where connections can bury evidence, and where the powerful can exploit the powerless with near impunity. And if one man could build an empire of abuse shielded by money and secrets, how many others remain hidden in the shadows? Pause. Music fades to silence. In a society where wealth often protects the guilty, who will speak for the powerless? Voice lowers, inviting the audience. What do you believe? Was Jeffrey Epstein silenced? Or was his death exactly what it seemed? Comment your thoughts below.